Greetings folks, Euler here. Today I am very honored to introduce Shari, 1966, from the Southeast Asia server. So I hope I'm not mispronouncing Shari's username, but when I found out that this longtime viewer played on the Southeast Asia server, I offered to feature one of his replays, since I like having matches from other than just North America, and I hadn't had a chance to feature one from Southeast Asia. And Shari has sent over this terrific gem of a match of himself in the premium tier 7 German battleship cruiser destroyer Scharnhorst. This is a tier 9 domination match on Land of Fire. There are 7 battleships per team, 5 of which are tier 9, and so this is definitely going to be a tough match for Scharnhorst. Now, Shari takes the commander from his Gneisenau and he runs a full tank build, which makes a lot of sense for those two ships, especially when they are up-tiered, and I'll touch more on the build and the up-tiering a little bit later in the replay. First, a quick housekeeping item. I need to offer a huge shout out and thank you to everyone for their continued support of the channel. The channel has now surpassed 250 subscribers, so thank you very much everybody who has subscribed recently and obviously for the entirety of the channel's existence. If you enjoy the content and know others that may enjoy it, feel free to share the channel information with others so that they may consider viewing and subscribing as well. So let's go ahead and get to the gameplay. Now, in my experience as of late, tier 7 ships have been seeing a lot more up-tiering, and I think this is a reflection of the matchmaking changes Wargaming has implemented to try to improve conditions for tier 8 ships, and as a result, tier 7 ships are seeing more up-tiering than at least I have historically experienced. So due to that up-tiering, it absolutely makes sense, in my opinion, for the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau to be run with a tank build. This is because the Scharnhorst in particular, when she is badly up-tiered like this, is much better played, in my opinion, as more like a cruiser than a destroyer in terms of her positioning and her engagement choices. And that's intended to be a reflection of the title of the replay. The Scharnhorst, when she is top tier, she absolutely can and should drive the flanks and play the traditional battleship role. She has the armor, the health, and the gunfire power to do it. But when she is up tiered, especially this badly, she is not a very good match for other battleships. Her gun caliber at 283 millimeters, it has more difficulty with better armored, higher tier battleships. She has a 25 millimeters bow and stern, which can be overmatched by every battleship at tier 8 and higher, including those with 280 millimeter shells. And so she just really can't sort of drive the flank and drive the flanks and the objectives the same way that she could if she were top tier. And so a full concealment tank build, in my opinion, does make a lot of sense for the ship. Also keep in mind that the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, while they do have the longest range secondaries of tier 7 ships in the game that can be maxed out to 8 kilometers, that really is very close and very dangerously close when badly up-tiered. These maps are bigger, the targets are more heavily armored, and a secondary build really isn't going to be very effective and viable for the Scharnhorst, again, when she is this badly up-tiered. So Shari has made some very logical choices here in terms of not pushing too far forward at this point. The Allies did lose a battleship, I think, quite early in the match, who basically overextended, or maybe it's just 2 cruisers at this point. I thought one of the battleships had already gone down as well. But he's making a very logical choice here for a couple of reasons. First off, he is not the tip of the spear as far as battleships are concerned, although he is being targeted by this Izumo. He is also being careful about his positioning so that he limits the number of targets that can currently fire on him, although he does not, or he did have 2 people targeting him. He did go briefly into concealment, again, a reflection of his concealment build, and he's backing away from these opponents who can fire on him so that he can control the engagements more carefully. And this is exactly the type of practice that a cruiser player would implement in order to remain viable and be able to continue to contribute in the game. Now, he hasn't done a whole lot of damage. He's had to he's mainly been firing armor piercing. He has fired a couple of high explosive rounds. He will fire more HE as some of these targets are going to not provide very good angle, or going to be very well angled to him, and therefore the armor piercing really isn't going to be very effective against the higher, more well armored targets. Now, looking at the overall tactical situation, the Allied team has a one ship deficit. They are down on points. Each team holds one cap. Excuse me. Now, the Allied Fletcher, I need to give a huge shout out to, and I'm sure Shari feels the same. There's only one Allied destroyer on the team, and this Fletcher took Bravo, and he is currently in Alpha contesting the cap. So he's doing absolutely the right thing to keep things spotted, to contest caps, to help take them. The Allies on the east side, however, over by Charlie, are being overwhelmed. The opposition has literally half their team there, and so the Atlanta, the Allied Atlanta that's south of the Charlie Cap, he's in no position to be able to tolerate any sort of sustained fire, especially from these higher tier ships. The Allied Lion is also retreating back towards Bravo, and that is absolutely the right thing for those two ships to do. But there isn't going to be a whole lot that the Atlanta can do if he is detected. The opposition has two destroyers, and I believe at least one of them is over at Charlie. And so the Atlanta may not be in a position that he can remain undetected, even if he tries to do some island camping, and he will eventually end up going down. Now, coming back to the west side of the map, the Allies have pushed out the opposing ships from Alpha, at least temporarily. The Fletcher is getting the cap. And again, Shari here is doing absolutely the right thing. He's using this island so that there's only one opponent, which is this Ismo, that he at least currently can fire on him, or has the means to fire on him. He's backing up here. He's looking, I think, to get some shells on the much lower health Ismo, and that's absolutely the right choice in terms of target selection. Try to get as many ships down as quickly as possible. Fortunately, the Allied Iowa does take down the Ismo, and so now the Allies are even on the ships, but the other Ismo is just taking a big wallop from one of the other battleships. I'm not sure which one that was. That may have been from the Jean Bar. So the Allies, even though they don't have the point advantage, they are successfully contesting Alpha, and they're getting things sort of pretty even in terms of the tactical situation. Now, the Friedrich der Große that's in Alpha is very low health. In fact, the Allied Atlanta that I mentioned earlier that was over on the east flank has indeed been taken down. But the Friedrich der Große has been taken out, and so now the Allies again are even on the ships, but they are going to be able to take Alpha now uncontested. The Jean Bar from Shari's team is very low health, and he's in a crossfire between the Ismo and the King George, and so we're going to end up losing him quite soon. Shari has changed his attention to this lower health Ismo. Again, a very good choice here because obviously, one, the Ismo is closer, but two, the Ismo is lower health, and all of his attention is on the Jean Bar. And like I mentioned, Shari had been firing a lot more high explosive as of late. He's switching to armor piercing here. I think he was expecting to be able to get a good broadside shot on the Ismo. Unfortunately, the Ismo has gone into, well, he hasn't got into concealment, but he's behind the island, so Shari isn't able to put any shells on him. Now he's changed his attention to the King George. And coming back briefly to the tactical situation on the map, the opposing team is pushing now towards Bravo, and there really isn't much that Shari's team can do about it. The Lion that's quite far south of Bravo is still in a retreating posture, and again, he's probably the focus of those four ships from the opposing team that are pushing south out of the Charlie area. Now, the Ismo has just gone down. King George is very low health, and then once the King George, although the King George gets a very good salvo on the Iowa, and here Shari gets his first kill for the game by finishing off the King George. So the Allies are even on ships. They have gotten a point advantage because they did hold two caps for a little while, but the opposing team is now taking Bravo. There is a Sinop, which is the other tier 7 battleship on the opposition that is in the cap. He is currently concealed, obviously, by the island. And so the allies here are going to need to are going to need to push over towards Bravo to help try to reestablish some center map control. Now, Shaori is in a little bit of in my opinion, kind of a dangerous position because while he's shooting at the Rhone here, that's north of Bravo, and the Rhone is quite or isolated himself. It's actually the large force that is south of Bravo that has Shaori's broadside, and for whatever reason, they generally have not been targeting him. I think they've been focusing mostly on the lion, since they've been chasing the lion for quite a while. Shaori again has gone into concealment, and again, this is a very good reflection of his tank build. He does take a few shells from the Georgia, but weathers that okay. He could have taken a lot more damage. At that range, it's entirely possible that the Georgia might have been able to get a Citadel hit through plunging fire, although he is not, well, maybe not quite so far away to take a plunging Citadel hit. But Shaori, again, thanks to his concealment build, has been able to approach this cap uh, while staying concealed for a fair amount of time. And now he's gotten himself in a position where he is protected by the island on his starboard side from the large force that is south of Bravo. He's able to fire reliably on the Rhone, and if the Sinop that is in Bravo attempts to push north to engage Shaori, Shaori should have the advantage because he has the torpedo systems and he'll have the means to be able to take down the Sinop, or at least wound the Sinop significantly. Now, the Lion that had on Shaori's team that had been sort of constantly retreating from Charlie was eventually taken down. The Allies are now down by one ship, and they are down on points because of that ship loss, and so they're having to really fight hard for the middle. The couple of Allied battleships that are in Alpha, I it's hard to tell. We don't know how healthy they are. We don't know if they're in a position to be able to engage more closely. The Fletcher is able to get a terrific torpedo drop and strike on the Sinop, take the Sinop down. So now they're even on ships again, but they've fallen behind again on points because they have lost the Bravo cap. So Shaori is working to try to get the Rhone down. He's actually in a position where he wants to move forward because the Georgia is moving up closer to Bravo, and Shaori does not want to get pincered here between the Rhone and the Georgia. So he's going to look to keep the island between himself and the Georgia and some of the other opponents that are south or west, southwest or south southwest, excuse me, from Bravo. Fortunately, the Musashi on Shaori's team is able to finish off their home. Now, Shaori is going to do something here that's very smart. He knows he needs to get his team needs to get another cap, and with his concealment and tank build, he's going to be able to push into Bravo and remain concealed when he does this. The closest opponent to him is the Georgia. The Georgia is backing up, and Shaori is going to make sort of a wide turn here. Now you can see that the Musashi is called for the team to capture Bravo. In fact, there will be a ping on the map here in a moment to indicate that they want Shaori to get into the cap, and that makes sense. But the way he does this is very, very smart. He's going to go north enough that he can remain in concealment away from the Georgia. And in fact, he's just acknowledged that he's going to go cap. Shaori has just acknowledged that he's going to go cap. And then he's going to execute his turn. There's the ping on the map. And he will get into the Bravo cap remaining concealed. And this is a very, very smart method for him to use. And again, this is a reflection of having a good concealment tank build. This would not have been viable for him, or potentially not viable for him, had he had a sort of a traditional secondary build without concealment. He just wouldn't be able to do this, or at least it would be a lot harder because he would be much more easily detected. The ship counts are still even, but again, the Allies are behind because they haven't been able to control one of the caps for quite a while. Shaori is able to fire from concealment very nicely on the Georgia. He's going to get some reasonably decent damage here. I think that was a 7.5K salvo. and he's moved into the Bravo cap, and he's going to be able to take this cap basically uncontested and without, I think for the entire time he will be undetected. The Fletcher, again, hats off to him. He's doing a great job screening. He's gotten some torps out on one of the opposing battleships. I don't remember which one that was. Although the Fletcher is kind of put himself in a fairly precarious situation because the Buffalo that is to the Fletcher's east obviously would be able to radar him potentially. We don't know whether the Buffalo had already used his radar or not. Plus, there is the Z-46, which has the hydro. So the Fletcher's kind of put himself in a situation where he could get pincered and quite easily taken out. So he's taking, I think, a fairly significant risk here, but maybe he knew that the Buffalo had already used his radar, and so the Fletcher is going to be able to go over and try to get displace I think this is I don't remember which ship this was. Maybe this was the third Ismo. The Z-46 on the opposing team does take down the Iowa. So again, the ship count, they're down by one ship. But what is going to happen here in fairly quick succession is the Allies are going to be able to finish off a number of ships, and Shari again has been able to take Bravo back for the Allies, although they have a nearly 200-point deficit because of the ship deficit. And here comes the Georgia. Now, Shari has the turtle back, which would likely prevent him from taking a citadel, but what's even better than having a turtle back is having terrain in the way. And so the Georgia's full salvo is absorbed by the island. Unfortunately, one of Shari's torpedoes is also absorbed by the island, but he does get 2 torpedoes in on the Georgia. He is going to get a broadside shot here with his rear turret in on the Georgia. 3 pens. I think if he had aimed a little farther behind, closer to the funnels, he probably would have been able to get a citadel. The Fletcher does go down, but the Ismo is taken out, and now Shari is able to get his other torpedoes off, finish off the Georgia. That gives the Allies a 1-ship lead and gives them the lead in the game, and they are going to win this match because there's no way that the last cruiser on the opposing team is going to be able to finish off any other ships. So an excellent match, very well played, excellent come from behind win. Shari earns second place on his team with over 2100 base XP. Again, a big shout out to the Allied Fletcher, comes in top XP, and I think rightfully earned that spot given how well he played. So thank you very much, Shari, for sharing this replay. I hope everybody enjoyed the commentary and the replay. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.